Mr. Cart fully expected Gargoyle to become completely paranoid after they hacked the main hegemony communications array. It seemed common for these technocratic hacker types. The moment something went bad, they would go to ground and it would be a nightmare to contact them. Which is why he was utterly surprised when he pinged Gargoyle's comm when this fleet arrived close to Port Say Station, and the woman immediately picked up. You're alive, Helmet Man! She shouted with a manic grin on her face, covered in sweat. She must have had a bad few days after Hegemony tracked her down. I expected Big Bad Fleet torn you to shreds, ripped your comm out of the wreckage of your ship and were using it to bait me out. How the hell did you manage to get here without being blown up? Quietly, Mr. Cat replied, already plotting a course to get close to the station. Docking was probably not an option, but he could still send a team to get Gargoyle out in a shuttle, assuming, of course, the station itself wouldn't shoot it down. To be fair, I didn't expect to see you here either. Couldn't get another way off the station? Not really, Gargoyle said, with a strange mix of embarrassment and pride. See, Hegemony had some sleeper agents on the station, and the moment shit went bad, they got active and started looking for me. Problem is, we're talking about Hegemon's secret service, which means that if they know about me, everyone and their grandmothers do too. Triter Corp security took about an hour to see through their blundering attempts at finding me, and realized they have a very dangerous and a very skilled hacker on board of the station. So now they're looking for me too. And there is also a local cell of the Ludic Path, who kinda got angry some time ago when I leaked videos of one of their deacons being frisky with some of his flock of believers, if you catch my drift. I'm only alive right now because all of them are trying to dick each other over and get to me first. Also, I'm hiding in the walls, though it's getting kinda hot and stuffy here. We'll get you out, don't worry. Ping us your location, we'll send away team to grab you. Try to make your way to the nearest airlock. On it. Should be a service hatch close by, sending you a nav point now. Also, probably unrelated, but I've been monitoring comms about all major players in the sector, and yesterday I learned that Syndrian Dictat put out a bounty on your fleet, and it's a dead not alive one. Apparently their high command told their fleets to shoot on sight and don't ask questions. Not sure why though, they should be happy to see Hegemony humiliated like that. I think I know, but it doesn't matter, Mr. Cat replied, eager to change the topic. Now, get moving, I'm sending a team right away. We probably don't have much time before battle fleets arrive. Fortunately, just like Gargoyle said, agents of various factions on the station were too busy fighting themselves to pay attention to anything else, and so House, Varuna, and a small team of more combat-trained crewmates could quickly board their shielded shuttle, fly to the station undetected, and make their way to the airlock the hacker told them about. On their way, they wondered how to get it open without alerting the station, but Gargoyle said she could hack it open in no time. And then, as if it only just got into her head, she added, "Problem though, that is not an actual airlock, that's a service hatch. I open it up, I'll end up in vacuum. It's going to suck me right outside of the station." "Well, just park the shuttle right outside, open the door and grab you as you fly," Varuna said. "Did some extractions like that before, they're a piece of cake." "For you, maybe. Not for me, flying through the void. I mean, one wrong move and I'll be flying for the rest of forever. Can't we, I don't know, get me out through a proper airlock?" "You said it yourself, they're locked down," Mr. Cat replied over the comm. "And besides, we don't have time. I'm reading a lot of incoming Hegemony warships. We need to run." Gargoyle nodded. Even though she clearly was not happy with the idea of being sucked out of pressurized station into space, she really didn't have any other option. According to the few bugs she planted on her way here, some Tritakian agents bypassed the mess with people from Hegemon's secret service on the Ludic Path, and were getting very close. So she mumbled a quick litany of curses under her breath, coordinated with Varuna, and, few moments later, sent a hack to the hatcher's console. "Should be done in no..." she started, and then her program did its work, and Gargoyle, with a silent scream of terror, flew out of Port Say Station. The logical part of her mind noticed a shuttle right outside, with two figures moving out to catch her. The part of her brain more focused on the present, however, screamed something around the lines of, "Oh fuck, my blood will start to boil in a moment from a pressure change, I'm going to die!" She started waving her arms and legs involuntarily from sheer panic, but mere second later, two pairs of strong hands grabbed her, shoved a helmet onto her head and pushed her into the shuttle. There was no gravity there either, so Gargoyle smashed into the side wall at full speed, but at least she was in a confined space. Agoraphobia was very common amongst people living on space stations, and there was no space more open and more terrifying than, well, the space itself. "You can get the helmet off, Missy, we have air here," a coarse voice said to her, touching her shoulder. Gargoyle spasmed and crawled away in response. "Helmet man, could you tell your goons to please not touch me?" She wheezed into the comm. "You could just tell us that yourself, Missy," House said, taking a step back. But, as it turned out, Gargoyle, who was very vocal and very energetic over the comm, was completely different when met in person. She slowly got her helmet off and quietly murmured some thanks to the crew, but she did so without ever making eye contact, and as soon as she was done she put her helmet on again, as if to hide her face from everyone else. House tried to talk to her again, but Varuna dragged him and the rest of the away crew off. "Leave her, it's clearly been a while since she talked to someone not over the comms," she said, and then, as the shuttle was speeding back to the fleet, contacted her boss. "We got her. What now, though? I somehow doubt she'll enjoy life in the fleet when she'd have to share a bank with other people." Gargoyle didn't reply to that, but she shivered. The very thought of that seemed to terrify her, and Mr. Katz had no idea how to reply either. The hacker was now very much a wanted woman, and letting her loose on any planet or station in the sector was just begging for problems. And not just because she probably wouldn't be able to set up a new life for herself. But then Dr. Disco prompted an idea. Gargoyle was, for all intents and purposes, a very well-educated specialist. Sure, it was a very unofficial education, but it still counted, so maybe they could leave her at Galatian Academy. After all, Anahita Baird also had a very pressing interest of keeping her involvement quiet. "Now that could work," Mr. Katz said and thanked the doctor. "But first we have to actually get there and look on the sensors. The hegemony is coming." And indeed, here they were. Just a single fleet for now, but no doubt more would follow. Cruisers, battleships, a whole bunch of smaller craft. High Hegemon was clearly not in the mood to joke around. By the time the shuttle came back to the fleet, this imposing armada got even closer, but for now at least it seemed that they were going towards the station itself, not Cat Logistics' fleet parked right next to it. As soon as the shuttle docked, Mr. Cat powered up the engines and got moving, quietly to make sure they wouldn't get noticed. And it seemed to work. The small company moved out of the way, and Hegemon's warships were still moving straight towards the station. It looked that, for now at least, they would be safe. "Chief, did we just start a war?" Zala asked over the comm, observing the warships. "Not that I care much about Tritak getting blown up, but I think this could spiral out of control." "It won't, don't worry," Varuna replied, walking into her boss's cabin. She got Gargoyle a small room for herself and left her there, and told House and his guys to not bother her. "At least I hope so. My bet is they're just going to blockade the place, send in a whole bunch of operatives and marines in, and try to find our new guest. But they won't fire a single shot. Neither Hegemony nor Tritakian want to repeat their war for a third time." "You say that, but don't they fight pretty much all the time anyway?" "Well, aye, but those are small-scale raids and sabotage. Just a convoluted way of ensuring neither side grows too powerful. But they know another war between them could probably wipe one side out, and both sides are too afraid it would be them. Or, well, at least that was the mindset when Hegemony took me into their navy. Sure hope nothing changed." Of course, they could not stay and observe how the situation unfolded, because no doubt more fleets were already on the way, and this entire system would soon be crawling with people looking out for their guests, and for the company itself. And with such an incentive to leave, the company made its way to the nearest jump point and set course for Galatia, where they flew quietly and slowly, avoiding getting close to any fleet, just to make sure that no one would notice them and inform the authorities. As for Gargoyle, it turned out that her offline personality was decidedly more timid than her online front. The woman locked herself up in her room and refused to leave, but still asked for a bunch of computers and terminals she could work on, because she also very quickly got bored. She got a very limited access though, not out of malice, but mostly to make sure that she wouldn't notice Midnight Dissonant in company systems, because if someone could detect the AI, Gargoyle was certainly that person. She kept bugging Mr. Cat over the comm about it, and each time he shot her requests down, claiming that they didn't have all that many spare terminals lying around, and at this time they really couldn't go to some station to shop for more. Overall, Gargoyle wasn't too much of a problematic guest for anyone, except for the boss man, but he appreciated her anyway, because, unlike many other crewmates, she wouldn't even dream of meeting with him face to face, so one less person to explain things to. He did, however, ask her about this archive she extracted, but the hacker couldn't really say much. The file itself was almost completely unsecured, and she could access all documents inside without issue. Problem was, said documents were written in some kind of code, and no matter how much she tried, she could not figure it out. Mr. Cart sent one of those files to Midnight, but the result was exactly the same. Old Provost Calico clearly knew a thing or two about old-fashioned encryption. The new Provost proved herself as well. When the fleet reached Galatia system, they contacted the Academy and told them about the situation, and about Gargoyle needing a new home. Mr. Cart expected some long tirade from the Provost, but instead she replied surprisingly cordially, for her at least. "Well, it would be an honor to have someone so talented at our academy," Anahita said over the comm, and Varuna translated it as, "It would be good to make sure she won't talk to anyone except people involved in this mess. Besides, I'm sure Miss Gargoyle is simply dying to know what is inside the files she extracted, because I can guarantee you only the current Provost has the decryption key to properly read them." She then lowered her voice and addressed the boss directly. "This was a job well done, Mr. Cart. I have to say I had very little hopes of you sneaking through hegemony patrols, but you pulled it off, and now we're even closer to finalizing our plan. But, well, I'm afraid we can't really be seen talking right now, or meeting at all. We are technically still a hegemony facility, and right now you are right at the top of High Hegemon's wanted list. You dock here, someone might notice it, so go to the asteroid belt around the gas giant we orbit, sending you exact coordinates now, and I'll have a shuttle waiting for Miss Gargoyle there. Until this blows over, it is best to avoid implicating each other in this situation." "You mean you don't want to implicate yourself?" were the words Mr. Cat wanted to say, but instead just nodded and informed the Provost about Gargoyle's specific approach to communication. "Oh, worry not, I'm used to working with people like that. I'll have Sebastian prepare a nice, quiet, and most importantly lonely apartment for her. Full of surveillance bugs, of course, but I'm pretty sure she expects that anyway. Now then, let us not prolong this signal. Someone could track it, after all." And with those words, she cut the comm, and Cart Logistics made its way to the designated waypoint in the asteroid belt, where, as was said, a small shuttle was waiting for them. It was piloted remotely, so Gargoyle could have all of it to herself, and she was very happy about that predicament. A few days in a cramped ship was way too much for her, and she was more than eager to leave. which meant the company should now focus on finding Scylla Caress and her team, but just as they were about to leave, a small contact appeared on their sensors. It was there for just a brief moment, and close enough that no one but the company could pick it up. Now, asteroid belts were prime spots for an ambush, but everyone agreed that it seemed like something else. Someone was trying to get their attention, and no one else's. Still, discretion was always important, so Mr. Card ordered the fleet to stay where it was for now, and he flew CLS Second Chance towards the contact's last known position, until, about an hour later, their sensors picked it up again, still in the same spot. "Looks like a cargo pod, boss," Varuna said, locking onto it. "Small, unmarked, but it's broadcasting a low-power signal from Galatian Academy? Odd." "Odd indeed. Wanna go for a spacewalk?" She nodded, took 3 crewmates with her, and flew towards the pod. It was indeed small, just a cylinder 1 meter across in diameter, and most of that was an antenna that transmitted the signal they detected in the first place. That they spotted it in the middle of an asteroid field meant that someone really wanted it found. The pod was locked with a small keypad, but the password to it was written right next to it, and so Varuna, fully expecting a trap or a bomb, sent the rest of her crewmates to a safe distance before opening it. "Not a bomb, boss," she said, her voice heavy with relief. "Just some files. And a datapad. Looks like a pre-recorded message. Want me to play it?" He confirmed, and she pressed play on the device. For a moment there was only static, and then face of Academician Alvis Sebastian appeared on the screen. "Mr. Kurtz, Miss Europa too. I'm sure you're at your CEO's side as usual. I apologize for the secrecy, but what I'm doing right now goes directly against orders of Provost Baird. Unfortunately, Provost Baird's orders also go directly against any common sense of decency, so I can't follow them. To the point though, our biology, medical and chemistry departments were working day and night on the clone samples you provided, and they have found a solution for their rapid deterioration. Provost Baird ordered them to prepare the serum, but she wanted to withhold it from you to use as a bargaining chip. And while some might argue that clones are not like real people, I'm not going to just allow her to use lives of living, thinking beings to keep you hostage to her plan. Not that I have something against her plan, I believe it in fully, but that doesn't mean I have to agree with her methods. Still, I hope you will continue working with us, but, well, if not, then the serum is in the container. The doses inside this container should be enough for 50 individuals, but I included instructions on how to make more. Give them to Dr. Disco, he'll know what to do. But I still hope we'll keep working. If not out of mutual respect, then for the benefit of people of the Persian sector. There she comes. Sebastian out. Varuna turned off the datapad and grabbed the container with vials from the pod. "This man? Persian sector doesn't deserve this man," she said. "He's young. His idealism will pass, worry not," Mr. Cart replied, but in the confines of his mind he couldn't thank Sebastian enough. A few months ago, in such situation, he would take the serum and disappear, never getting close to Galatia again. But now, with this new plan he had, he decided to bring this story to the end, no matter what. And besides, cutting loose now would no doubt damage Sebastian's idealism, and doing such a thing to the one decent and good man they met, he thought was the price he wasn't willing to pay yet. So they set a course for Ilm, to resupply before another long trip, and set out to look for mysterious Scylla Caress. Of course, at this point, Cart Logistics would not be itself if its crew didn't find some way to get distracted from their main objective, and this time said distraction came from within the fleet itself. On their trip to Ilm one day, Mr. Cart was sitting in his cabin with Zala, who, over the past few weeks, became a rather frequent guest, much to Boss's dismay, as he liked his loneliness. However, the former Pather had many questions about Precolab's domain, or, to be more precise, about Prophet Lud herself. Zala clearly was ecstatic to learn so much about a figure she, until recently, considered to be pretty much mythological, and from her questions, Nissekat could figure out that there was some sort of plan forming in Sister's head. But, during one of such talks, the doors to his cabin suddenly opened, and House walked in, with a look of utter seriousness on his face, which was completely unlike him.
"Zealot, I need a moment with the captain. Got business,"
the old pirate said as he entered, pulling out his personal datapad. Then, without waiting for a response, he continued.
"Captain, I'm gonna have to ask for a few days of personal leave. Me, an entire friendly welcome, that is. Got some shit to deal with."
"No problem, but could it wait until we're done looking for this researcher?" the boss asked. "Feel like we could use all hands for this one."
"Yeah, I know, needle in the haystack and whatever, but it's personal, Captain. Have to go, like, right now."
"Right, fine then, won't stop you. Not sure I can stop you, but mind telling us what the issue is? Maybe we could help." House went silent for a moment, taken by surprise by this proposition. Then again, Mr. Cat was probably the one person he should expect such a reaction from. He always was bewildered just how much their malformed commander actually cared. Even now, a few years later, he still regularly sent payments to families of crewmates they lost in their early days of salvaging. House wondered, not for the first time, if it had something to do with Mr. Cat's conditioning, back from Domain days. Still, asking for help was not something he was used to, but what the hell, he thought.
"Well, I could use at least a tanker, 'cause it's a bit of a trip, but if everyone wants to go, then sure, we can go. See, Captain, the thing is, you know how I always say I'm the pirate of the family, right? Well, the idea is that I'm the asshole who brings the money, so that my wife and my kids never have to get entangled into this life. No one knows who they are, no one knows where they live, and my former crewmates know full well I'm going to murder everyone if anyone even thinks about tracking them down. And I thought it would be enough, but, well, see for yourself."
He sent a file to Mr. Cat's console. He opened it and saw what looked like a bounty notice, one posted by the Ludic Church. The system was full of these, warrants to kill or capture some wanted fugitive or a criminal who messed up with people who could afford bounty hunters. Most of the time, Cat Logistics ignored these bounties. They were not a combat fleet, and most people on these notices were usually packing entire armadas or small but capable combat groups. But this bounty was different, mostly because of the name written on it. "House, is that your daughter?" Mr. Cat asked, unable to believe his eyes. The name on the bounty said Freya House, but the face on it was way too young to be House's wife, unless he was that kind of a man who enjoyed the company of a young lady in his old age. The old pirate nodded though.
"I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it."
Zara took a look at the datapad and smiled. "Damn, old man, your kid's kinda hot." She said that, and then, about a minute later, left the room, holding some of her teeth in her hands.
"Yeah, fair. I deserve that,"
she mumbled, stumbling towards Dr. Disco's medbay. Fortunately, he was able to put all of the teeth back in place.
"Knew the little shit was still impressionable,"
House continued, as if he didn't just knock the shit out of his fellow officer.
"Should have never told her all those stories from my raiding days. She must have got into her head this moronic idea that life of a pirate is a fancy one. Fuck, am I a moron, and it seems I also raised a moron. And now it says here on the bounty that she's scaring merchants into paying protection money by using my name. Apparently she jumped some church convoys and said that if they wouldn't pay, I would show up with fleet from Cantor's Den and fuck them up."
Doesn't sound that bad if she just scares them.
"I thought so too, but it also says here she jumped some couriers flying between Ludic worlds and blew them up. I fucking swear I do everything I can to keep this life away from her, and she just does it by herself. Anyway, Captain, I want to go look for her. Says here they tracked her down to some system few days away from the core. I'd say we take the bounty, go there, I beat some sense into this unruly little shit and drag her back home. And we tell the church she's dead and buried. Win-win, eh? I get my daughter back into safety, you'll get some money from the bounty. Not much money, though. Apparently she only has a few ships to her name. Still, surprises me she scrounged them up anyway. Guess little Freya gets some charisma of her own. Fuck her, I hope so. I hope she's not just leeching off from my old reputation. Mr. Cart raised his hands to stop House from rambling. Already set the course, Captain, he said. Just make sure she knows it's you. This fleet may be small, but if they're actual pirates, they're probably a lot more competent at space combat than we are. Than you are, Captain, Hal smiled. Worry not, friendly welcome can take them on. Hell, I can take them all by myself, just tie me to a torpedo and fire me at them. I'm not gonna let anyone mess with my family, even its own members. Gonna go tell the lads to prepare, we should probably do some weapons tests, he added and turned to leave, but as he was about to move out, he turned back to Mr. Card and gave him a nod, which was as much of a thank you as you could get from Old House. The boss waved him off and got back to the console. Once again, their job would have to be postponed, but he felt like Anahita would understand. She wouldn't approve, sure, but she'd understand, and then bitch about it for a while. But Anahita Baird wasn't there, and so the company set a course for Toga system, hoping to get to Captain House's daughter before other bounty hunters killed her off for real. Of course, just knowing that someone was in a star system didn't exactly mean that finding that person would be easy, but that was where Captain House's pirate experience came in. He said that raiders usually hang around planets, habitable ones if possible, which they use to stash their goods, rest and repair their ships between raids. Still, with more than one planet in the system, it meant that finding a single fleet was usually just a matter of chance, and it was just like that in this case. Card Logistics entered Toga system, picked a direction and just went towards nearest sensor reading, hoping that it would be their target. But, as might be expected, their first choice was wrong, and turned out to be a debris field of old, broken ships. House was scared that some bounty hunters were already here, and these wrecks were all that was left of his daughter's fleet. But when salvage fleets were sent to check them out, they reported that these derelicts must have floated there for decades by now, if not more. At least they managed to bring in some valuable cargo back on board, though when it came to some of that cargo they were very tight-lipped about what it really was. Still, they didn't waste much time there, and instead moved further into the system, and their next target was a jackpot. A small fleet was orbiting a desert planet, and, at least according to the sensor readings, it was exactly the fleet from the bounty notice. Instead of approaching it openly, however, House and Mr. Card decided for a more stealthy approach. They would sneak as close to Freya's ships as possible to avoid spooking them, and then, once close, they'd rush them and open up comms, so that House could give his daughter some stern talking to. That, however, was the optimistic part of the plan. Everyone was aware that pirates were unpredictable, and pirates taken by surprise were doubly so, which meant that it was best to prepare for combat. Weapons and shields were tested, all volatile materials securely stowed away, and cryopods with clones secured in a transport freighter at the back of the fleet. Mr. Cart still hoped it wouldn't come to fighting though, not because he was afraid about accidentally shooting down his captain's kid, but because the idea of battle still brought cold sweat to his forehead and made his hands shake. Fortunately, Midnight Dissonant was more than happy to take over as the autopilot. Perhaps too happy, Mr. Cart thought. Still, the plan was approved, and the company moved closer to the small fleet of rickety frigates. So close, thanks to their signature jammer, that they could almost see them on their external cameras.
And then, with all systems powered up and ready to go, House forced his way into other fleet's comms and started acting like a father.
Oi, you little shit, the fuck are you thinking running around pirating?
He started shouting.
All them years your mother and I told you to never go down that road, and now look at you, hiding in the middle of nowhere.
There were gasps and several sounds of general confusion from the other side, until eventually a female voice said, "Oi, the hell? Tex, kick this fuck out of my comms. Sensors, wake the fuck up, we're being jumped. Action stations, lads, and you, bounty hunter, think long and hard before you say anything else, lest you end up facing the wrath of the most dangerous pirate in the sector. You didn't think we'd be here alone, did ya?"
Of course you are alone, you dumb girl.
House sounded exasperated.
What, you thought scaring actual bounty hunters with me would work?
With you? The voice on the other side asked, confused. And just who the fuck are you to tell me how to do my job, old man? Crew, get those weapons up, stat! House went silent for a moment, confused. On second chance, Varuna gave Mr. Carter a weird look. Something here was not correct.
Midnights, might I bother you a moment?
House finally said on a private line.
Mind hacking into their bridge cameras? I want to look at that girl there.
Acknowledged, Midnight replied.
Hack successful. Displaying visual now.
It was a pirate bridge, all right. Messy, ramshackle, and full of untested improvements installed by the crew. The crew looked the part too, dirty, chaotically dressed, and generally just as banged up as their ships. But the woman who was sitting in the captain's seat looked nothing like the face on the bounty notice. Red hair and not black, different height, different clothes, different face. Mr. Card could hear House swearing up a storm over the comms, but then he lowered his voice and opened the comm to the pirate fleet again.
Well, sorry for the trouble and whatnot. Must have been a mistake, he said.
Damn straight, bounty hunter. Now fuck off before I sick entire House family fleet on ya.
I sure wouldn't want that. Just one question. Could I have a word with Freya, House?
The fuck you think you're talking to, old man? I'm Freya. Now, if you want to pay a tribute for letting you go free, you're welcome, but otherwise stop wasting my time.
Aye, tribute. Sure, one more question though. Who told you to pretend to be my daughter?
Your daughter? The voice of the other side cut off, and you could hear a faint, "oh shit," coming from various crewmates. Just, who the hell are you, old-timer?
Oh, I'm your daddy, sweetheart,
House growled, powering up all weapons on his ship. He then turned on his own camera.
Don't you recognize your good old dad from all those years we spent together with your mum?
The woman on the other side turned stone white when he saw the old pirate, whose mechanical eye was now glowing freezing cold blue.
Yeah,
she finally muttered. But Harper said you retired. I had no idea.
Harper. Of course, I knew something felt wrong here. Let me guess, you're some rookie Harper took under her wing to train, right? Did you screw her over somehow?
I don't think so. She sent me and my crew to do some smuggling run to Sindria, and we got some of the goods impounded, but not that much. What, you think she set us up to fail?
Of course she did, you moron. You can't trust Harper with anything. But of course you couldn't know it. And let me guess, she told you you can just pretend to be my daughter, so that other people would be afraid of retaliating against you, right?
Well, yes, pretty much word for word. But we had no idea you were still active. If we knew...
Then you wouldn't do it, out of fear of me. But you didn't think about it, and you just brought heat on my family in the process. I'm sure Harper didn't tell you, so I will. My family is off limits. I left pirate life behind me to ensure that they are off limits. But then you came along, thinking you could just pretend you're someone else.
But we didn't know. Harper said...
Yes, I will deal with Harper, eventually. But you lot made your choice, and now it's time to face the consequences. And the consequence is that right now there is a bounty to bring Freya House in, dead or alive. I choose dead. And since you decided you want to be her, then it means I need your corpse.
Wait, we can pay you? The woman started, but House already left the call. Ah, fuck, everyone on high alert, they're coming!
Yes, we are. Cart logistic ships, we're going in. Those who want to join, feel free to do so. Those who don't, stay back, just don't get in my way.
And with that, Friendly Welcome lunged at the pirate fleet, spitting fire from its oversized guns. Moments later, other vessels, even Second Chance, joined in because no one wanted, or dared, to leave House alone. And the pirates, seeing the company fleet approaching, just scattered, clearly surprised by the fact someone dared to attack them. What's worse, their ships were just a bunch of old frigates. Granted, Cart fleet was mostly made up of small ships as well, but in this fight of tin cans, the company had one major advantage: more ships and more guns. Paired with destroyers piloted by Zala and House, the fight was no contest at all.
Fuck, Monitor Squad, cover the retreat! Lads, run, we'll try to keep them occupied!
The pirate woman shouted as her friends desperately powered up their engines to run away. To her credit, she did try to buy them some time, but with only one other ship at her side, her Rosatom frigate couldn't do much, and within minutes was surrounded and blown apart, and so was her other companion. The ships were blasted apart from all directions, and it quickly became clear that they could not hold on. But at least their sacrifice allowed other few vessels to escape. Moments later, all power signatures died down, and few escape pods launched towards the planet below. But Friendly Welcome rushed after them, its weapons still powered on.
Captain House, for fuck's sake, you blew our ships up already, we surrender!
The woman shouted from one of them.
You're a family man, right? Well, this crew is the only family I have left after Harper fucked me over, so please let us just disappear. You won't hear from us again, and I'll never use your family name ever, I swear!
House's eyes unfogged a little bit, his fury diminished ever so slightly. He flipped the comm switch and said,
You take care of your family, I can respect that.
There was a sigh of relief on the other side, but then he added,
But that didn't stop you from endangering mine to do it, though. So fuck you. Crew, fire all guns.
House, that's a war crime, Mr. Cart said through the comm.
I know, Captain, but we are not soldiers. I told these facts, all of them, that I won't bother them when I left. I told them I wouldn't raid, I wouldn't spill their secrets to governments, and I wouldn't mess with their businesses. All that, I said, just for leaving my family out of this life. And now she thought she could drag my daughter into the spotlight so that every bounty hunter and old enemy could have a shot, so fuck her!
Very well, I understand. Do your thing, Mr. Cart said and cut the comms. House pushed his second-in-command aside and fired all weapons and Friendly Welcome himself. The pods were sturdy, they were designed to survive in vacuum of space for a long time after all, but they could not survive barrage from old pirate destroyer. Few frantic call requests pinged in their comms, but House disconnected all of them, and a minute or two later everything was silent again, with every pod and its occupants blown apart into space dust.
Not done yet,
House said on the general comm.
We need to get them all. Everyone needs to believe we wiped this fake Freya's fleet to the last man.
Mr. Cart could say something. He could probably try and stop House or just tell him to go alone, and a single destroyer would never catch up to all the running frigates. But instead, the boss simply gave a green light, and all vessels rushed after the fleeing pirates, catching up to them over the next few hours and blowing them out of the sky one by one. The pirates tried to beg and plead for their lives, but each time the connection was shut down without a response, and every time their ships were destroyed, Friendly Welcome ensured that every single escape pod was shredded with its flak cannons. Finally, by the end of the day, the last vessel and the last pod were ripped apart, and an uncomfortable silence fell across the company fleet. Again, Mr. Cart thought that he could try and stop House. He could try, sure, but he didn't want to. Because, despite his bloodthirsty nature now truly revealed, the old pirate still was an asset to the company, and the boss would prefer to have him on his side and not against him. "You can stop shooting, House, the pod is literally in 20 pieces now," he finally said, and friendly Welcome's guns went silent. "I need you to focus, Captain, we got all of them. For all intents and purposes, the world will think your daughter is dead."
"Yeah, but for how long?"
House replied, and Mr. Cart knew he meant that something had to be done about Harper before she could pull another stunt like that. Because, in all honesty, they were just baited into acting like a hit squad, punishing the young rookie who made a mistake. "We'll worry about that later, House. Now, send your salvagers and let's see if these wrecks have something interesting or valuable in them. But do it quick, we still have a researcher to find, and a far more important job to do."